Hello everyone. So today I'm going to do a retopology for this head that I've created in ZBrush, and I'm going to create the retopology in Blender using an add-on called Retopoflow 4. I'm going to try that add-on for the first time. Yes, so I have not used that add-on, so hop along with me for the ride. Hopefully we will find something useful. We will learn something useful. So yeah, this is the character head. This is the head that I created in ZBrush. So it is a complete dynamic model. As you can see, it is full of dynamic topology. So before I can create any more details like the creases in the eyes, the creases in the nose, even the lips, as you can see, there are the lip detail is not proper. So before doing any of these sharp details or all the uh, refined details, I need a better retopology, better topology to do those details. I can dynamic a little bit more. That's always an option, but I am going to create a retopology. Yeah. So let's jump into Blender. So the first thing that I noticed after importing the mesh into Blender is the size of this head is too small. Why this matters is when we are doing retopology, the overlays uses this centimeter information to show the retopo faces properly. Okay, what I mean by that is, let's say I will create a retopology mesh just for example. So as I start creating these faces, we can see this face because the values are set in a correct order. And this is basically what we have here in Blender, the retopology shading overlay thing. So if this is too high or too low, it will cause some artifact. So if it's too low, then we won't be able to see the newly created topologies. Or if it's too high, let's say from the back, we are able to see this edges, right? So we don't want that. So we want this to be around somewhere, some proper value. So to have that, we need a proper scale, head in a proper scale. I'm just going to create a head with the real proportion of a human head in real life. So right now I just separated this part, and also another thing is this head is somewhere cut between the grids. Okay, so I will explain why that happens. So first, what I'm going to do is I'm going to measure the entire this entire bust. So I separated this head part. So the average human head proportion will be somewhere under 25, somewhere around 22 to 25 for an average adult. So I separated this, and I applied the rotation. So the z-axis, that the height of the head, I'm going to set it to say 23 centimeter. So before that, also apply the scale because this will help us to copy paste the values. So when I set this value to 23, as you can see, the scale and z-axis also changed. So I'm going to copy the 7.356 and I'm going to paste it here in x and y. So this is going to be the proportion of the head. So that I just want to parent the bust and the eyes and set it again. So now I'm going to merge these both, and this 37.1 centimeter is what is the height value that we need to change the head mesh in ZBrush also. So here's the eyes. If you see the XYZ size, by the way, you can access this in the tool menu and in the size options of the geometries. So in ZBrush, we can see the XYZ value, that is the highest of the bounding value, which in this case is going to be the height, is 5.04, which is the same in Blender also, as you can see, 5.04. So we want this 5.04. We are going to change this 5.04 to 37.1. Yeah, in ZBrush. So what I can do is I can just change this to 37.1. But what that is going to do is it's not going to consider all the other subtools that I had in the subtools menu. So what I can do is I can enter the edit mode, and as you can see, there's the small chiclet thing. So click on that. This will enable us to transform all the things that we select. So once you enable this, oftentimes you will not nothing will change. But if you press Control Shift and just swipe, you will get this hashed pattern, which means anything which is hashed is not going to translate. So I'm just going to, for example, I originally selected the head, but after enabling the transform and enabling the transpose of transpose of tools selected, if I don't select the head, but I select the horn, and if I try to move something, even though I selected the head as a subtool, because the head is not selected in the transpose subtool, yeah, transpose all subtool options, it is going to ignore the head. So I'm going to select everything in the scene, and we have to change this 5.04 into 37.1. So I'm just going to scale it till I get close to that value. This way we will be able to scale everything. So 37 point, yeah. So now the mesh is almost ready. Yeah, another thing is, as we saw in Blender, the mesh is somewhere at the middle of the grid. I'm just going to fix this also. So in ZBrush, if you enable the floor option, by the way, if your floor is looking too small, you just have to go to the draw panel, and you can change the grid size. I'm just going to give it some 30. As you can see, it is touching the bottom, or like the bottommost edge of the visible subtools. Okay, so in this entire subtool, the bottommost is this bus part. So, but in Blender, as we saw, the grid is almost at the forehead, somewhere around the forehead, right? So what's happening here? So because there is an option called snap that is enabled, and the elevation is -1. If the elevation is -1, it's going to go below the visible subtools, and the snap is going to snap to the corner of the bounding. Right? In this case, the bounding will be this part. So that's why this grid is snapping here. So I have to turn the snap off, and I'm just going to bring it to 0. So yeah, so this is where the edge is now. So I'm going to select all the subtools again to move everything like this. So in this project, I'm just creating the bust. So I'm not being too precise. It might, or it may or may not be exactly above the grid or not. So after bringing it here, I'm just going to export everything again. So now we are back in Blender. So I created a new group, a new collection for the hyperpoly, and I moved all the hyperpoly to the new collection and switched off the horns because that's not needed in this topology anyway. And I created another collection for the Retopo object. I hope you guys know how to install the add-on though. Put a preference add-on after you download the add-on, install from disk, and blah blah blah. That's how it that works. So the next thing I'm going to do is okay. Once you have the add-on installed, if you go to the add menu and under the mesh, there will be these two options: Retopo from cursor and Retopo from active. What it's going to do is it's going to create a new mesh object without any vertices, like an empty mesh object. To start retopology, the only difference between these two is this first one is going to create the mesh or the object and its origin data at the cursor. I hope you guys know what a cursor is. So this is the cursor. So wherever this is placed, when you select the first option, it's going to create the mesh and its origin based on there. But you can still create the topology wherever you want. It's just going to create this mesh and use this as the reference point. And the next option is retopology from active. So what this is going to do is it's going to see which mesh or which object that you have selected in the viewport, and it's going to create empty object based on the selected objects rotation, origin information, and all those things. So here everything is, the rotation is zeroed out, the location is 0, because of course the mesh's origin is here, and scale information, everything is like set. So I'm going to create a retopology from active option. So this basically created a new mesh, but this mesh don't have any vertex data, and if there is no vertex data, it's not going to have any edges or faces or tries for that case. So the first tool that I'm going to explore is the polypen. So I never used this tool before, but I did go through the documentation, so I fairly have an idea of what to do, what to expect, and I do have prior knowledge of doing retopology. So I'm just going to start the retopology. So in this, how this polypen works is we are going to hold on to control to create new points. Okay, so if I don't hold control, it's going to be in the tweak mode. So as you can see, the default mode is tweaking, and once I hold the control, it's going to give a small preview of where the new edge is going to be created. So a point is going to be created, and if I create, I can create points like this, and once I create 2 points, the third point is going to create a try, and the fourth point will make it into a quad. That's how this tool works. Very simple. I'm just going to have to click a few times, and this will create a topology. So I'm just going to start creating the smile line around this character. Right now I'm just being rough. I wish it has symmetry option, but even if I turn on the symmetry and if I create something, it's not being created on the other side. I think this symmetry option is for the tweaking and all the sculpting, like smoothing operations and all those things. So yes, so I'm just going to quickly fix this area. And by the way, guys, if I don't have any commentary and I'm going to do some repetitive task like moving all this point, I will speed up the video, and the indicator will be a red or a green highlight at the edges. So if you don't have the edges, that probably means that I am saying something, or I have some commentary to share, or I have some tips to share. By the way, like I mentioned earlier, if you don't hold the control, it's going to be in the tweak mode. So you don't have to go between switch to the tweak tool, or you don't have to hold G to move all these points. You can just click on this and you can just start moving. And also this tool respects the other tools, so this is not locked to the only the polypen, so I can still access all the other tools. Like if I press Ctrl or Ctrl R, I can still add a loop, which is the default functionality of blenders, the edit mesh mode. So I can add loops, I can light the edges, I can smooth vertices. So all these options are still available, so just want to throw that out. The only issue with using the blender's default tools is going to be the snapping. So let's say okay, let me create points here. So as you can see, when I start creating using this pen tool, using the pen tool from this add-on, it is snapping to the mesh, as you can see. So if I do like this, it's going to snap to whatever is visible under my clicks. You can see every point is snapped to the surface. But let's say I'm going to use Blender's native tool, like the edge loop. If I use the edge loop, it's not going to snap the mesh. So that's one caveat. But that is fine. I think in most of the cases that's going to be fine. All you have to do is, after adding a loop or something, you just have to just touch and move it a little bit. That will fix the snapping issue. Okay, the next tool that I'm going to explore is going to be the polystrips. So if I don't hold any Control or Shift, it's just going to tweak whatever the mesh is under my cursor, whatever mesh is under my cursor. So to create strips though, I need to hold Control, and when you hold Control, you will see this brush preview. So what that's going to be the size of the polygons that we will be creating. So if you want to change the size of this, press F and you can change the size. So I'm going to create something a little bigger. I'm going to hold Control, just start drawing. That's it. So I can, using this Bezier handles, I can control how, or the curve of this newly created poly. Yeah, it is not as this Bezier curve, they don't work as like the Bezier curves in the Illustrator or something like that. So instead of creating a loop like this, I think I will go by little. So I don't think I'm going to use the poly tool much, even though it has its uses maybe around the areas like this. I don't think I'm going to use poly strips for the majority of my retopology process. At least not now. I don't find the use cases for this much. I don't have any idea how to delete the faces though. I have to quickly go and check the documentation, I guess. So I quickly checked the documentation. Looks like there is no way to delete the faces like holding Alt or something. Even though that would be a cool option. Right now, the only way I find is press the Control key and right click. Then you will get this lasso selection, which is the default option in Blender. You can just select and delete all these things. I think there is a bug in this tool. So anytime I press Control S to save the file, it switches the edit mode to face. It's supposed to be edge and vertices. So if I press Control S, it just shifts. There are a few more options using this polystrips. Is after you committed a polystrip, you can just scroll your wheel to set the divisions in this, and the width you can set here after creating the object, you can set the width here, or you can just press shift and but once the pop-up menu goes, I'm not able to change the width or the divisions though. So yeah, it would be nice if those options are always available instead of just yeah. So there is an option in the tool menu though to fix the snapping issues. Like I said earlier, we have if we have created edges or any points using the blender's net any of the blender's native tool and they are not snapping, uh, we just the first way I mentioned is just manually go and move it a little bit to snap. The other option is here in the tool menu of this polypen, or this, I think this is for the entire Retopoflow tool set. Yes, so there's a section called cleanup. In this cleanup, the next tool that I'm going to use is the passes, sorry, strokes. I'm just going to select some of these edges. After selecting certain edges, it is going to give us a text saying that stripe 5. So what I can do is I can start drawing a line. So it's going to create number of certain number of faces from these 5 strips. So I can control click, and if I use the scroll wheel button, it's going to change the number of divisions that it has between the original points and the newly created points. So I'm just going to give it to 3 to. So after coming here, instead of manually creating polygons as proper number of vertices available, I can just use the fill face functionality of the blender. Yeah. Okay. If I press F, I'm getting the brush size. So yes, and if I press shift, it's going to activate the relax mode. And in this relax mode, there are a few settings that we might need to look onto. So there is an option called in bound. So what it does basically is it's going to smooth including the everything including the boundaries. So if I instead of include, if I use slide, it's not going to move the mesh, but it's going to slide the vertices. And if I set it to exclude, it's not going to move the boundaries. For some reason, it's not respecting this mesh because it is actually a boundary. I don't know why it's not respecting this, but other than this, it works flawlessly. So yeah, it is polygons and I can quickly smooth them out. After sometimes Blender did get a little slow. I'm using this add-on, so it's not a deal breaker or anything. I just wanna throw it out. It might be a deal breaker if it gets this slow for just this mesh, which is just a head, which is just a bust. I think it will get significantly slow if you are trying to do a sculpt the entire mesh. Like the area where I want to where I'm going to create the horns, the topology ended up like this. Generally, I don't like to have so much pores, but in this area, I'm not going to have any deformation or anything like deformation or any creases or wrinkle. In those cases, it would be bad. So that's why I always try to keep my poles as less as possible. So by the way, what is a pole? So this is a pole. Any point which have more than four vertices, four edges. This vertex have some proper edge flow. But when it comes to these areas, especially these which have more than 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, okay, which have more than four poles, so four edges, and in total it has around 6 edges. So this so in this strip tool there is a bug. So sometimes it happens, sometimes I'm not able to reproduce it. Sometimes when I draw strips like this, say like this, yeah, now I reproduced. So the points are being snapped to the other end of the mesh, which is not visible to us. And this is not selected. These points are not selected, and still while doing the retopo for the mouth, I'm going to leave a small gap here just to create the mouth back later on. I can't just merge these points because after this, when I'm sculpting the model, if I have a mouth back, no matter if I'm going to show the interior of the mouth or not, it'll be very helpful when I'm doing the sculpt for the lips. It will help me to give the proper volume and everything, and even hiding and masking. So just going to leave a little gap here. So after this retopo, I have to Yeah, guys. So after 1.5 hours of retopology work, I finally completed the retopology for this character. Though the only thing left to do is to model the mouth bag and the eyeball bag. So that I will do offline. So few things that I've come to notice using the Retopoflow is when we are in the polypen and when you start editing, and if you want to change the mode to face instead of vertex or edge, or you just want to select the edges. When I select the edge, I can tweak them, but the moment I press Ctrl S or any action, it again goes back to the edge and vertex selection. So I think this is a feature. The other one is what I don't like much, like in the polystrips, every time I save, it is going back to the face mode. I think this is intentional, but I think it is, yeah, I don't know, for me it looks like a bug. Sometimes I want to stay in the mode that I chose. So if it's not intentional, I hope they fix. If it's intentional, then I think they need to rethink this whole thing. Yeah, so the other thing is in so in the polypen mode, the default option is quad or tries. So we can change it to quads, so we can just draw quads. So this is also useful. This I wish I experimented this earlier, because I was using the try quad mode to draw a lot of quads. Instead of that, I could have shifted to here. I could have changed the settings to this, and I could have finished it faster. So that's all thing. The two tools that I find most useful was the polypen and the strokes. Like I said, in strokes, you just have to select the number of edges to draw the faces from, and then you just have to draw. It will create the faces, and voila. So this is a useful thing. And a few things that I've noticed while using this add-on is it does get slower in certain areas when you try to use the poly strokes. Yeah, when you try to use the strokes tool, it does get slower. So I would recommend, if you have a entire character mesh, I would recommend you guys to decimate the model and then import it, so that the poly count will be a little less. So other than that, I don't think I found any issues. The smooth brush works good. I will show how to quickly use the contours tool because I don't use it throughout the retopology for this head mesh. So this contours tool is useful mostly in the cases of arms, legs, and tube-like structures. So I'm going to take I'm going to use this font for the example. So what I have to do is I have to press Control and drag. So it will give you a preview of this dashed lines. So once I leave it, it's going to show this polygon edges. Okay. So right now the loop count is 8. So if I press Control and scroll my wheel, it will increase. So I can continue, like this is the starting point. So now I have to define the end point where it's going to end. So I'm going to press Control again and I'm going to start drawing, and if I leave, this is going to create the end points. So the first points, the first created edges and the secondly created edges are bridged together, and in between I can start adding more points by pressing Control and drawing like this. So it is very useful in the cases of retopologizing an entire arm or leg and even the fingertips. That's it for this video, guys. The final conclusion is Retopoflow going to replace my primary software for retopology? Yes. The main reason is because I can also use all the other Blender's native tools, and I don't have to switch between softwares when I need to create all the interior regions like the eye bag, mouth bag, and all those things. And like I said, Blender does have some wonderful mesh editing tools, so I can implement them also. But the one issue I have is the price. So the price for Retopoflow for a personal license is $86. I think it's a little too high. I might sound like complaining, but $86 is a little high for an add-on to create retopology. I'm not going to deny the fact that it is a really great add-on. It has a lot of powerful tools and it has a lot of use cases. I'm not going to deny that, but $86 for a personal license is a little too much when compared to the license of the Topo gun, which is $150. I can wait for a sale and I can put a little more money and I can buy an entire software for retopology compared to a single add-on. My suggestion for the price would be somewhere around $50 to $60. That will cut it off for a personalized. So except for this price though, I'm 85 to 90% satisfied with the add-on. It is a little slow, yes, but there are workarounds for that. We can always decimate the high poly mesh and then import it to do the retopology. I'm going to stick with it for the time being though, and I hope all the bugs or all the features which is not very user friendly will be addressed in the future. So yeah, guys, this new update for Retopoflow is absolutely good. So try it. I hope you will also like it like I did. And if you like this video, press on the like button, subscribe to my channel. I'm trying to be as consistent as possible with my new uploads. So yeah, once again, thank you for watching this video and I will see you on the next video. Bye bye.